This is Nathan Bowman with Draper Inc. We're here to review the IntelliFlex I motor limit tool. We have just set our limits. Now we're going to cover the new features built into the motor limit tool. If you are looking for a specific section, please check the time codes at the bottom of the video to navigate accordingly. You can also click the thumbnail to access a link which will take you to the video for a limit setting via the motor limit tool. Okay, now we're going to cover renaming the shade. By default, each IntelliFlex I motor ships from Draper with its own unique identifying code associated, or a name. You can keep that name and document it for future reference, or you can change the name for each motor to better coincide with something that's going to be easy to remember while you're on site. To do that, I'm going to navigate using my up and down arrows to the rename menu selection option. I'm going to hit enter. From here, I have the option to change the base name, the numerical value, and the adder. So let's get into this a little more. Right now, this shade is named Smart Motor 1041. The base name is Motor. So I'm going to hit enter. Motor is now selected. I can use my up or down arrows to navigate through the various naming options. So we have Motor, North, South, East, West, Floor, Room, or blank. Those are your options. I typically like to go with a room or floor, so I'm going to choose room, then I'm going to hit enter. It will automatically navigate over to my next configurable naming convention, which is the numerical value. The way that I typically do this is once I enter a room, I will look at the shades and I will number them from left to right, 1 through whatever the highest number is, and that is how I will name them. For instance, this is the second shade in my training room, so I'm going to name this room number 2. And then I'm going to leave my base number, or my adder number, as a -1. So this is going to read as room 2-1. I'm going to hit enter, navigate with my down arrow to confirm, hit enter again. And as you can see at the top of the screen, my shade name has now changed to room 2-1. The next menu option is for your motor polarity. If you install a shade and you try to run it up, but you notice that it goes down, this is the menu option where you can change that. By default, this is going to show up as normal direction. If you hit enter, it will highlight that. You can use your down arrow to change to reverse direction, and that will reverse the polarity of your motor. Preset stops. The menu currently shows that I have no preset stops programmed into my motor. We have 2 different ways that we can program preset stops into the motors. Directly through the motor menu, I can select this screen, hit enter, room 2-1, 0 preset stops. From here, I can hit enter and press up, and each time I press up, it's going to add an equally spaced preset stop. I want 3 preset stops at 25, 50, and 75. That is where I'm at. I'm good. I'm going to hit enter, navigate down to confirm, and hit enter again. The screen is loading. Now I'm back to my motor configuration screen, and you can see I now have 3 preset stops. In addition to that, if you have a specific stopping point that you need to hit with your shade, such as a mullion or something similar to that, you can set custom preset stops by using the open and close button and the add stop, remove stop features. So I need to meet a vertical or a horizontal mullion, so I'm going to run my shade up using the open button. Okay, I am now at my horizontal mullion. I need my shade to stop there, so I'm going to press and hold add stop. Hold 2 seconds to add preset stop added. Once the preset stop is added, I can release. Now, if I go back into my preset options, I now see that I have 4 preset stops. My equally spaced 25, 50, and 75, and now my custom mullion stopping point of 55%. The next function that we're going to cover is set groups. This feature allows you to program all of your switches, AV groups, contact closure interfaces, or any other IntelliFlex I control directly from the motor limit tool from one access point. So I have my motor. I'm going to set the group. Once I select set groups, I'm going to see a list of 64 selectable groups. From here, I am going to navigate using my up and down arrows to the group number that I want this shade added to. For this instance, I just want this shade to be part of group 1, so I'm going to select group 1 and hit enter. Group 1 is going to come back with a check mark in its box. That means that this motor is now part of group 1. If I wanted this motor to be part of multiple groups, I would simply navigate down to the corresponding groups and select those as well. The next menu option is copy settings. This allows you to copy the previously programmed settings from one shade motor and transfer them to another. To do this, I select the motor and I hit copy settings. Copying shade settings. Shade settings copied. From here, I can now disconnect my motor and plug directly into an NDC and copy and paste these settings elsewhere, or I can unplug from this motor, plug directly into another motor, and paste those settings directly to that motor. Okay, the next new feature from the motor limit tool we're going to discuss is the override status. This is just a quick and easy way to help you troubleshoot if you walk on site and you see a shade not responding as you think it should. As you can see, I'm still plugged directly into my motor, so it's giving me the motor configuration specifically for this motor. I'm going to use my down arrow to navigate to override status and hit enter. The screen is loaded and it's telling me that this shade is overridden from command 1 of 1. What that means is if there are multiple control points on the network, such as wall switches, contact closure interfaces, AV gateways, etc., that would show the entire list of commands that the shade is currently overridden by, and it will show you which one is taking precedence. So if you have 7 different commands on the line, it's going to tell you that this shade is listening to command X of 7, whichever one takes the highest precedence. As I read this, I can see that the shade is currently overridden from a user. It was overridden to position 0, and the time left is 115 minutes. Reading that tells me that someone moved this shade from a wall switch, and it has 114 minutes left until it goes back into automation. The last new feature we're going to cover with the new motor limit tool is the default position. This is the home position or default position that you want the shade to return to if there are no outside controls commanding it to go to a specific position. So if there are no wall switches telling the shade to go to a position, sun tracking, AV override, nothing is telling the shade to go to a specific position. Rather than staying 50% down, where would you like that shade to go? With the default position, you can select anywhere from 0 to 100 for that shade to return to once all overrides have been released, with 0 being fully retracted and 100 being fully extended. To do that, I'm going to navigate down to default position, hit enter to select it, and then in my numerical value box, I'm going to use the up arrow to navigate to whatever position I want that shade to default to when all overrides have been released. Hit enter to save, and that is how to set up a default position. And finally, the final menu option we're going to cover with direct connect to the motor is a factory reset. I'm going to hit enter. From the factory reset menu, I have 3 options. I can clear presets, clear groups, or clear all. Clear all should be used only as a last resort if you want to return the shade or the shade motor to default factory settings. If you have any further questions or concerns, please contact Draper Technical Support at 1-800-238-7999 and select option 3.